I'm going to talk about number 9, which is democracy. This is very, very interesting that I've learned after being in business 35 years, and as a businessman I became elected. And now I've been in the City of London for 2 years, and I've learned a whole bunch of things about what is happening and to what extent we have or have not have the democracy, which I thought we had, and I thought the country had, set up. And it's not as I understand this thing. And the only reason why, and you can change it, is you have to be inside the system. I only have one vote, but I have a possibility, if I can influence other councillors and other people that are elected, with a volume vote, you can now start to change the system. So outside the system, I now understand why people are walking around in Victoria Park with signs saying we lost our democracy and we don't like politicians and what can they do, and they get so frustrated and they become want to fight with the policemen, for heaven's sake, and break the laws because they're frustrated. And I can really now understand, after being in government now for 2 years, just how things are going, just how we as elected officials, what we have to do and what you have to do to elect the people that you want to get the job done. So basically in the past, what does a statesman or a politician, I guess politicians are basically, definition is what they'll tell you what you want to hear, but a statesman is one that's trying to take care of the country. But basically, I think we have to start to look at what are the people that we elect, what can they do, and what qualities from your elected official. For example, I think at this point now there's 3 levels of government: federal, provincial, and municipal. Federal and provincial, to some extent now we've lost our democracy. They're a party system. They're NDP, they're liberal, they're conservative, but it's a party system. Now that's very, very important to know that, because they work as a group and they decide as a group what policies will be coming forth. So when you go to election, the party politics, if not the party decision, policy decision, says that we want to go this or we want to go there, and then hopefully when they're elected they will do that. And of course what happens in the history has been, well, maybe they change their mind, or they may not get the majority, so therefore they have to go along with some minority decision. And so we've got ourselves, both federally and provincially in Toronto, we've got ourselves a party system. So there's 3 main parties, as I mentioned, and these parties will decide basically with the leader what will happen if they're in power, if they have the majority power, or are the prime minister or premier. That's very important to know that, because the person that you elect is a party person. And that's like, wow, we don't believe that. We'll write to them and say, I want to do this, I want this benefit, or I want you to do this. All they're going to do, typically, in the party system is smile at you, maybe kiss your babies, and talk about golf. But the point is, they're basically not in the position to either change some of their policy or change the leader's decision. And what I've found more and more and more, the leader, whether it be premier or prime minister, is almost becoming a dictatorial person. He tells you what you're going to do. And he's got so much power. So if he's got cabinet ministers, he'll say, I'll pull out this letter that every prime minister and premier has from their cabinet people, and they can sign a piece of paper that says, I don't want you right now because you're now going to resign. And each one of them have that power to immediately take the person out of office, because that's the power that the premier or prime minister want to have. So therefore, they are saluting the leader. They will do what he says, or you get kicked out of the party, or you won't get your 5 years or 6 years, in this case, in politics. So that means you won't get your pension for life if you're there for 6 years. So there's a very big power group that decides that all the member of parliaments or MPPs will do as they're told. But the only problem is, what's the premier or what's the prime minister? Why are they saying what they're doing, and why are they doing what they're doing? It's usually because of the people in the back room. the business people. They say, guess what? This is what I want. I can make more money with maybe oil, or maybe I've got the food issues, or we've got pharmaceuticals. And this is what we're going to do to make money, because big money from big business is showing up. And that's what we have to understand now. And to change, if we want things changed, we have to understand what we're doing and who we're voting for. Finally, when it comes to municipal government, it's the last bastion of democracy where as a councillor, you can start talking about anything you want to talk about to try to solve some problems, as long as you don't group together with the majority of councillors and have the ombudsman on your back or something. But the point is, you still can talk to other councillors, other leaders of the community, to try to find out, can you change a bylaw, or change an idea, or change the way you purchase service, or change the laws so that you can help the community. However, what's happening now is what are we going to do, and why are people walking around? Because they've lost a lot of their democracy. So what it's coming down to, in my mind, is we have to change the system. We have to change who we elect. And what means for you as an independent voter that wants the democracy back, you have to start finding out who is your elected, or the person that wants your vote. If it's a party system, then that's the best you can do, is what you're doing now, unless we decide to change who we elect. So if you become independent, let's say you had an independent or a backbencher, you might call it, and they said, now, I want to do what you want in a democracy way. So the question then becomes to me, there's only two things you have to understand, is what is that person? What does he think about? What is his goal? So for example, maybe what is his ethics? What is his goal in life? What is this person excited about? You've got to know that, not just necessarily read the paper and they may spin that on you, but you've got to find out as an elector, as a person putting the vote down, what rules does he live by? Is he spiritual? Is it mind, body, spirit? What is his mind? What has he done in the past? Has he got enough horsepower to pull the wagon? His body, I mean, does he have enough physical, does he have enough mental abilities to carry the load, to problem solve, and to try to represent you based on what has to happen in your elected area? Or the gold, it could be the golden rule, do unto others as you want others to do unto you. Well, that might be something, but a lot of people don't believe that either. A lot of them believe that if I've got the gold, they make the rule. I mean, that's the one I saw on a card once. There's also other spiritual issues. There could be 10 Commandments, there could be religious zealots. They make a difference to you to vote. Why? Because the law in the land means that this person can take their hand and put it in your pocket, open your wallet and take out $5,000 to $10,000 and spend it legally by them in the context of a government. Well, you want to know what that person's going to do with your money. And I think the two issues that I see is you're either going to be kind of right or left wing, right wing or left wing. Basically, what do you think? How do you think? If I have $10,000 in my hand, it's your money, you have to know, what am I going to do with that money? Am I going to spend it? Am I going to spend that money and then want double as much? Or do I want to give it away? Or do I want to get good value for the money I'm spending? Do you want that money to grow? Are you prudent about that? Or are you of the other that says, wow, if we got money here, maybe we can print some more money. And by the way, if we need $5,000, maybe we can get $10,000, because that'd be more fun, and we can give it to all the poor, or we can give it to wherever we want to, based on, isn't that nice? So from that standpoint, I think the elected people are going to have to start looking at maybe a new system, a democratic system, to get their will into government, provincially and federally. So if you had candidates coming towards you, or coming to you and say, guess what, I want to be a right-wing candidate, or I might want to be a left-wing candidate. You have to decide, what do you want? Do you want someone to give you money? Because, I'm going to give you $5 more a month on your pension. If at that level of understanding is, I'm going to vote for that person for $5 a month, then we're in trouble. And of course, the whole country will be in trouble. But if you say to this person, I want him to do exactly what I want him to do. So if he's going to vote my way, and I like the way he does it, then that's fine. But on the other hand, you if you're working, if you haven't got time to follow all the politics, if you haven't got all the information, you are trusting that person to run your affairs, to run your money, to run the business, so you create the jobs, you create the environment, you create a living environment so that you can live happily and your kids and retire, and knowing that it's being done honestly and it's being done in the best of the country. So I'm thinking right now, from what I see after 2 years of being in business, if we don't start electing people that are not connected to a political party, that are connected independently, that you can know how they're going to react, how they're going to vote, how they're going to be holding on to your money, and how they're going to be deciding in some cases whether your kids go to war or not. That's what happens in the federal scene. This is serious, serious stuff coming at us, and we've got now a free trade environment where we are losing, and basically with this one world government, which we're looking at now. I heard on the radio the other day, it's just like an octopus with monopolies, are all the legs of the octopus, and no head. So it's basically monopolies are helping all the other monopolies get complete world control, whether it be oil, whether it be pharmaceuticals, whether it be a whole bunch of things. And by the way, we all will salute because we won't have a chance to compete, we won't have a chance to. So from my standpoint, my concern is now with free trade, we're going to may have to go back to where we were, where it was fair trade, where we can, if we got oil and we want your bananas, well, we trade for your bananas and you get my oil. Or if we want to export, then we have the oil, well, maybe we have it cheaper for the oil in Canada, that we can produce things in Canada cheaper than somewhere else and then export it. Wouldn't that be nice? That's not the free trade rules right now, but that has to be what I got to consider if we want our jobs back, and we have to be able to compete with Canadian against Canadian, not with, by the way, we're going to compete with the Mexicans and find out that we got no rules to work by. So this is some good dialogue that I think you should start thinking about. And I think as time goes along, I believe there's going to be more and more backbenchers, as you might call it, start to go into the different wards and say, this is what the values and how you think, how you would spend the money, and this is a person that will represent you the way you want to take care. He's spending your money, or she's spending your money, so that you've got good judgment when it comes down to whether it be Toronto or whether it be Ottawa or even the City Hall. They're going to spend your money properly and not be told that the business community that they're associated with will tell them what they have to do. So to get our democracy back, we have to have more and more independent elected officials that will vote the way you want them to vote to take care of your interests, so that now when it comes to issue by issue, whether it be finance or whether it be social or whether it be government, you know you've got the best democracy possible when they vote, and they just don't be told what to do. And by the way, you've got either left or right, or you do as you're told, otherwise you don't get a pension. So I would consider that, and hopefully you can dialogue that up a little bit in the community. But I think this is what I found, that we need our democracy back. I want my democracy back. I want your democracy back. But you have to now, I think, start to help. How do we change the system? How do we change the political system, which is a party system now, which unfortunately, I think we're losing options and options. If we don't do it soon, our kids, I'm afraid, will be moving somewhere else to get a job, or we'll be losing all the standard of living that we're so used to because we traded properly, because we traded our benefits, because this country doesn't have to have free trade in my mind. We just have fair trade. We've got all the natural resources. Everybody wants to come to Canada to basically rape us with their money, and I don't think we need to get bought off if we're smart about this. So there's some dialogue we can start talking about. No one's going to talk about free trade, but I am. But I think from that standpoint, if we want a democracy back, I think we better start thinking about how can we help the system, to help the system for our kids to have some democracy. Thank you so much, and maybe we can talk again about this in the future. Thanks for listening.